I was at the Olympics yesterday, hence I've got my Team GB shirt on. I couldn't resist wearing it, but I thought it's a good, it was a good atmosphere, and I hope it's going to be a good atmosphere today to say thank you to all of the ITMB students that's helped us. What we're going to go through this morning is they're going to tell us a bit about all the projects they've been working on, and I'd like to introduce Christina to tell us about hers first.
Good morning everyone, my name's Christina Wilson and I worked on a project about segmentation within client services. Now segmentation is all about identifying the best segments to target, and this can be based on many factors. It's not always just based on revenue, however at the moment it is currently based on revenue within SaaS. Now previously in 2008 SaaS looked at doing it on a points-based system which took into account lots of other areas other than just revenue. So I looked at rerunning the data from 2008 and also adding in 2 extra elements which were FTSE ranking and brand ranking, which I'll go on to tell you a little bit more about in just a moment. Now I did some research on some other data source companies available. Now at the moment I identified that there are quite a few gaps within the data, so it looked like it would be a good idea to possibly use some of these companies to fill in some of the gaps. Now however, I didn't actually have enough time to identify which would be the best company to use, so this is something that SaaS would definitely have to look into, identifying who would be the best to use in the future. Now contact and account segmentation are 2 different areas. Contact segmentation is based on job role, job level and job title, whereas currently the current account segmentation is based on turnover. Within the turnover segmentation, there are SME accounts which are 250 to 500 million in revenue, national accounts which are 500 million to 1 billion in revenue, enterprise accounts which are more than 1 billion, and academic programme accounts which include all the educational sectors. Now when I looked at contact segmentation, one of the main areas I noticed were how many unclassified and blank fields there were within the data. Now with the blank fields, initially you'd think there's not too much you can do with them, however you could look at either contacting the companies individually, which would take quite a long time, or you could look at using one of the companies that I previously mentioned, but as I said, this would require further research. With the unclassified fields, I looked at the business rules which currently decide which job level or job title they'll be classified to, and I looked at the most frequent unclassified fields, and I was able to see where they could potentially be reclassified, and this would make the data a lot more reliable. Now with regards to account segmentation, this was when I looked at the data which was rerun. As I mentioned about the different factors other than just account turnover, this was for instance one of the different factors that was used in the 2008, which was for the points-based system. Now also, again, I noticed a lot of unclassified fields. This is actually a small percentage compared to other ones that I did notice. Within the industry sector, there were 6.65% missing. Within turnover, 50.18%, so over half were missing. And within number of employees, 45.25% were missing. So this information at the moment could be deemed as quite unreliable. Now FTSE ranking was one of the new elements which had to be added to rerun the segmentation from 2008. Now looking at these 2 graphs, you can see they look pretty much similar. The reason for this is, if you look here, we've got all of the top 100 ranking within the FTSE. However, we actually only sold to 14 of these. In total, out of all of the customers in our customer base with a FTSE ranking, we only sold to 18 within 2011. Now, considering FTSE ranking are customers within the UK that hold a big market share, this is an important factor to look at. So I would definitely recommend that SAS look at improving the numbers with this. Now, looking at industry percentage and industry value is important, as at the moment we're only segmenting based on value. Now, as you can see, banking is only 5.2%, 5.28% of SAS's customer base. However, it is the largest in value. Looking at services, which is the largest in percentage, it's actually one of the smallest in revenue. Now, as at the moment we're only actually segmenting by turnover, this proves that it's really important to look at other aspects, which is why the 2008 segmentation model was rerun to see if this could be implemented in the future. Now, brand ranking is one of the other elements that was added, as well as FTSE ranking. Brand ranking are the most valuable global brands. Now, this is really important to look at as they're most valuable globally, so they're really important to see whether we're actually serving these customers. I did find that we actually serve in 286 out of the top 300. So this is something SAS are doing really well at doing, so they should continue with this. Now, number of employees, as I previously said, 45% are missing. Now, with number of employees, this is an important factor. As for someone that has no idea about a company, for instance, they'll have a number of employees would be an important factor to see, sort of get an idea of the size of the company. It's also important to get an idea of perhaps the IT spend. So, for instance, the hardware spend, like the number of PCs they might have within a company, which might be something useful when you're looking to target certain companies. Now, to conclude, I'd just like to highlight data quality has been the big issue that I've noticed throughout this project. Reclassifying as many of the unclassified fields would definitely be one of the best steps to making the data more valuable. Now, I see the end model as, I'll just emphasise, this is only a small part of a much larger project, just the research stages. So I'm not going to be here to see what actually happens with it. However, I would like to see it going down the data like visual analytics route, as I think it would be really useful if we could represent a new segmentation model, whether that be using 2008 and our current findings and representing it differently. I don't know exactly how they're going to choose to go about doing that, but I think representing it visually would be a really good idea. Finally, I'd like to say thank you to everyone for the opportunity for this placement and everyone in client services who was really helpful. Thank you.
Welcome to my presentation. I'm Tom Downs, and over the next 15 minutes I'll be talking you through my project, my findings and also future recommendations. So my project was a piece of the Touch Every Customer initiative, and it was my place to gather and analyse touchpoint data and produce some reports for that. To start with, we need to know what touchpoints are. So basically every time SAS communicates with a customer, that's where a touchpoint is generated. So every mail that's sent, every email that's sent to a customer, that's a touchpoint. So there are so many touchpoints that are made over the years. So I had to narrow it down. So I primarily chose to use SAS Professionals, training courses data, and also marketing interactions data. It would give me a good scope and be able to jiggle the data around and get some good reports from that. What makes this possible is the customer care data warehouse. Now, this is quite new, and it basically, we have these systems that hold the data. So we've got Polaris, which is educational data, which holds all of the training courses and everything. We've got SAS Professionals data, which is basically all the data from the SAS Professionals website is held in that system. And we have obviously the Orion system, which holds interactions, accounts and opportunities. And then basically the customer care data warehouse brings it all together and compiles it so that you can combine the tables and make meaningful reports. These are only 3 examples. There's lots and lots of systems that pull in to the customer care data warehouse. So I started off by compiling the SAS professionals data. This gave me a good overview of how many companies use SAS professionals and which are the top companies that have SAS professionals users. And we can see, sorry, it's difficult to see, but there's and they're just some of the ones, but they're the ones that are quite interesting to look at. The next thing I did was also look at the other end of the spectrum. So here we can see the companies with the least amount of SAS professionals. Some of these are quite obviously going to have not many SAS professionals because they're quite small companies, such as only has one SAS professional, but they're probably quite a small company, so they only need one. But what's quite interesting down here is only has one SAS professional, and they're quite a big organisation. And if we go back, we can see is there, and also the Department of, and they're kind of in the same sector, so it might be an idea, and it's quite interesting to see that it only has one. It might be a good idea to push some marketing towards them or something. I did the same thing for training courses. This would give me an idea of how many companies actually use the training courses and use SAS software. Is obviously the biggest there. S is there. Is also there. This again gave me a good overview of which companies use the SAS software the most, I guess, because if they're taking training courses, they're obviously using the software. I did the same again for marketing interactions, so I could see which exact companies we marketed towards over, this is 2011, but what's quite interesting is this is the top 5 that we marketed to. But if we go back, have the most training courses and also have the most SAS professionals, but they're not in our top 5 companies that we market to. So that's quite an interesting observation straight away from this high level. Also from the data, there are lots and lots of companies that we market to and lots of companies that we touch. So I had to narrow it down, and I used this to narrow down my data and write my reports on. This also allows us to give a different dimension and compare the years in which we marketed to them. Here we can see this green block at the bottom is SAS professionals, and they have 129 SAS professionals, and this maintains pretty steady throughout the years. The orange blocks are marketing interactions, so it's how many times we touch them during marketing campaigns. And in 2010, 475 interactions, and there was an increase in 2011 to 515 marketing interactions. So that's quite a healthy growth of marketing interactions made there. We can see in 2010 there were 116 training courses taken by, and then again in 2011 106, not as many but still quite a healthier number. In 2012 we can see that we're in August now, so it's not too bad. We'll probably exceed 2011, which is good. If we drill down into the data for training courses, I made a line graph here with a cumulative monthly breakdown, so we can see exactly when have been taking their training courses. The red line is 2010, the green line 2011, and the dotted line is 2012. If we look along here, we can see these little spikes of where they actually took their courses. So between months 7 and 8 in 2011, we can see they took some training courses there, and we touched them there. This is quite interesting to look at because we can sort of predict this 2012 line is due to have a little spike in the summer. So along here somewhere we should probably have a spike of training courses, so we can probably accommodate for resources and stuff in training. Again, I wanted to look at what training courses they actually took. because that can give us an insight into what software they use most. And funny enough, customised courses is the most they take, so you can't really see what software they're using there. But then after that is SAS programming, SAS Data Integration Studio, and it follows down there until the e-learning at the end. This is an interesting one. This is just a tile chart, and this gives us the names of the individuals that took the most training courses from RBS. So the bigger the square and the redder the square, the more training courses they took over the year, and this is 2011. And then as you get smaller boxes and more yellow, the less courses they took. This is interesting because obviously we want to maintain a healthy relationship with the people that take the most training courses, because they're probably quite influential within, and yeah, it's probably quite a good idea to keep in contact with them. In the live report, you can hover over the squares and see what courses they took and how many times they took the courses and everything. We can't really see it on here. I took a similar approach with marketing interactions. Again, a cumulative quarterly breakdown. This shows, interestingly, that in 2010, by the end of the first quarter, we didn't make any marketing interactions with, and the same with 2012. Yet, I thought that was a bit odd, but I run the same query for 2011, and we can see here in 2011, by the end of the first quarter, we had over 300 interactions with the marketing. So the data is right. By the end of the second quarter, we can see a spike here in 2010 and a very similar spike in 2012. But then again, by the end of the third quarter, probably no marketing campaign started in 2010. So if we want to touch a customer every quarter, we need to work on this and see where we can start to touch them in these quarters that we're not. And again, yeah, there's quite a nice healthy growth in 2011. So if we can follow that in 2012, we can bump up this line that's starting to go flat and hopefully get to where we were last year. This is another breakdown. This is monthly, so this is basically just showing which months we actually launched our campaigns, probably, because between February, May, we obviously launched a campaign in 2011 which took our total interactions over 300 and then maintained that healthy interactions with, and then we can see here very similar pattern here and here. This is the marketing types of interactions, so the marketing mix of 2011. The direct mail campaigns was obviously the most, with 44%, and the rest follow. I just thought I'd show that because you can see kind of where we might be able to target them in different areas of marketing. But that's up to marketing to decide. And again, this is another tile chart, so I decided to see who we actually interact with most out of, and see Robert and Alistair are probably bored of getting spammed with all of our marketing interactions, but this is good that we're keeping healthy relationships with these people, and it's good that we keep in contact with them and make sure we have healthy relationships with them. And again, the smaller the squares, the less interactions we have. So with future development, we want to touch every customer every quarter. That's the goal. That's the overall goal. So first of all, we need to broaden the points to incorporate all the customers. There's hundreds and hundreds of customers SAS have. We need to try and incorporate all of those into it and generate some reports with them. We need to incorporate all the touch point data as well. Like I said before, I only did training courses, marketing interactions and SAS professionals. There is a lot more data out there that we need to pull in. And with the timescale, I couldn't do it, but it should be done, hopefully. And additional reports, of course. We need to show the different areas and the different viewpoints of which we can interact with our customers. And then it'd be quite nice to introduce some visual analytics into it, and have an iPad that you could take into your exec board or meeting or whatever and show it on there, and that would be the final product, I guess, which Andy's going to show us later. So our goal was to touch every customer every month, and I hope I helped gather and analyse some data for marketing and for Neil and MIS. And thank you very much. And can I have any questions?
Hi, I'm Leroy. Welcome to SAS. To take a journey with us for the next 10 minutes.
Hi, I'm Christina. You might not have heard of us, but I'm sure you've seen what we do, although you might not know it yet.
Hi, I'm Wilma. SAS takes data, turns into knowledge, and gives you the power to know.
Hi, I'm Andy. SAS customers are always looking for students with SAS knowledge. This gives you the opportunity to demand higher starting salaries from the outset.
Hi, I'm Tom. We tried to make the movie as enjoyable as possible, so we hope you enjoy it.
I know you recorded. Scene 2, ITMB student, part 2. Let's go.
So the interview room is just through here, not far now. Like I said before, there's absolutely no need to be nervous. I'm sure you do a great job. After you. So, all that's left for me to say is just best of luck. I'm sure you'll be great. Are we ready for the next applicant?
Yeah. Hello, Tom.
Hi there.
How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Please take a seat.
Thank you.
Have you done anything this summer?
Are we ready for the next applicant?
Yes.
In you go.
Hello there.
Hello, Christina. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Please take a seat.
Thank you.
Have you done anything this summer?
morning everyone, my name is Andrew Foy and I'm going to deliver a short presentation on my project, Data Translation for Visual Analytics. I'm going to start by giving you just an introduction to the project, then I'll go through the stages, the processes that I followed, and then I'll look at the whole outcomes of the project, some of the challenges I faced, and then some final reviews and a look back at the project as a whole. So, to start with, I'll introduce my project. Basically, I was working with visual analytics in the technical and analytics group with Steve Ludlow and Rajiv Narula. And basically, I was presented with a data set of a US fictional toy company called Megacorp. This is a data set of 4.5 million records across 40 plus different columns, variables. And my task was to take this US-based data and kind of remap it and translate it into a UK-specific format. Basically, there was 3 main stages to my project. So we started with Megacorp US. This was the huge data set, which was actually a subset of a huge database of 1 billion plus records. And then I was required to translate this into a UK format, and then translate this data set into a UK specific data set, but for a different organisation. So originally I said it was for a toy company. This was then to look for a financial services organisation. Could be banks, insurance, capital markets, any of the SaaS customers really. And then from that, then creating a further data set of complaints data. So as you can see, we have the little pig to represent a bank. Just before I launch into it, I'll just quickly explain for those of you who don't know what visual analytics is. It's a new software launched in March 2009, which is basically all about taking huge masses of big data and processing it in near real time. So what would take hours now takes minutes or seconds. And it really is, not to make it sound like a sales pitch, but from my experience, it's a really impressive software, and we're definitely going to set the benchmark with this over the next couple of years. So what do I mean by data translation? Basically, this means this is what the customer would view on the original data set through a feature called geomapping. It's where you could drill down, click into one of those states, and then that would launch into all the cities within that US state. Now that's great for the US, but when we're demoing to a UK client, obviously it's much more relevant if we can use counties and UK towns. So I was able to go from this with lots of base coding to this. It'd have been great to be able to demonstrate this live to you, but unfortunately the visual analytic network is down for maintenance today. So what I've done is prepared a few, this is a few I made earlier, reports to be able to demonstrate. So this is the visual analytics environment. And rather than just like, I'm sure none of you want to hear the 1,000 lines of code that it took to produce all this. So instead what I'm going to do is just run you through the actual outcomes, which is in effect how the customer would see my data through visual analytics. So we'll start with Megacorp UK. Basically, this was originally a US data set which contained US states, US regions, US cities, along with US currencies, so in dollar, US date formats. We use DD, day, month, year, whereas they use month, year, date, month, day, year. So obviously all these little things all had to be considered. So we look at this now, and for all you see, we've got the territories. We've got England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales. So we click Ireland figures. And now, instead of seeing, say, New Jersey and the corresponding cities for that, we have a region of Ireland and then some different territories within Ireland. We've got Armagh, Belfast, Londonderry, and Armagh. Yeah, and as you can see, another thing of vital importance when you're demoing to a UK client, profit. It's usually what most people are concerned with. So I was able to reformat the currency from dollars into pounds. So instead of that being X million dollars, we now have £3+ million. And again, I can just show you a few features of visual analytics, how everything can repopulate. And basically this is kind of what is now being used by the pre-sales team, by the sales team to demonstrate clients. So yeah, that was stage one of the project, was to go from just simply reformatting US to UK. Stage two was quite a bit more tricky. We then had to kind of reorganize the entire data set. So instead of it being for a toy company, we changed it to a financial services organization. So that means obviously Action Man, Barbie and Pingu are no longer relevant. We need things like product lines being credit cards, mortgages, loans. So if I go into transactions, we now have the newly created which I've named Megacorp FS, Megacorp Financial Services. So instead of having product lines, like I said, toy, etc., 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 we have accounts and savings, credit cards, insurance. I also recoded, I dropped quite a lot of fields that were of no relevance, such as product quality isn't really a measure we'd necessarily use in the same way as we would for, say, an Action Man. So we introduced things like transaction types, credit, debit. So this is just now all credit card transactions. Sorry, not credit card transactions, credit in terms of crediting an account as opposed to debiting an account. We were also able to change the channel, equally important. For example, if I go, somebody in one of the leading banks during a presentation might say, well, how many transactions did I have in Aberdeen which were made through a cash machine? And there we have 2,731. So I mean, this is the kind of like great hot topic of visual analytics, is that whereas this would usually be done at an analyst level, this can now be done in the hands of analysts, middle managers, senior managers, executives, all through an iPad or through the GUI interface. So like I say, this is just one query of how many transactions, and you could do it by various channels, different payment methods. So that's backs, it's cash, direct debits, checks. So that was stage two, going from Megacorp UK, toy company, to Megacorp FS. And then we thought, after discussing with Rajiv and somebody who's one of the account managers for one of SAS customers, we thought, wouldn't it be great to be able to demonstrate complaint data to customers? That's usually quite an important element within financial services. So we then took this Megacorp FS data, had it as our kind of base point, and basically dropped everything and started again, having complaint data. Unfortunately, the network was down, so I can't demonstrate through you complaint data. But basically, we had complaints such as complaint ID with the handler, with handler ID. I was able to create this pretty cool, with the help of one of the trainers, bit of SAS code, which was able to calculate the date that the complaint was logged to the date it was closed, and then work out how many days to resolve, so that then they could say, well, hang on a second, that particular complaint took 93 days to resolve. What went on there? And then they could look into further investigation. But as I said, this can now be done by anyone across the organisation. So that was kind of what the outcomes of my project were. And now I can talk about some of the challenges, which, if there's one word to describe my project, it was the word coding. All of it was just pure base coding. It was, like I said, I think when I added it up at the last count, it was over 1,000 lines across the 3 different programs which I ran. And that in itself is a challenge I mean, certainly the adage that anything that can go wrong will go wrong with code, and every single day there were always problems with SAS-based coding. They always got sorted, but it can be something as a spelling mistake, it can be a comma out of place, it can be the syntax, which is just slightly different ordered of statements, and usually it's around 3 o'clock every single day the code would break. So 3 till 4 every day was probably the lowest point. But I had excellent support from Rajiv and people within the analytics team who were all excellent base programmers who were able to help me out. I think one of the best things about this project was taking what I'd learned from the SAS-based programming course, which was 20 chapters worth, manuals like that, and actually looking at it from a business perspective first of all. So what am I trying to produce? Right, I want to be able to count the number of customers who made a transaction in Manchester. But then you've got to think, right, well, what code is actually associated with that? And that was probably the most challenging part about it, was looking through the modules and chapters, because it's all hypothetical data within the actual training course, and thinking, actually, this piece of code that's here would do the same thing for me within my financial services data. So that was one of the biggest challenges. Second biggest challenge was actually data consistency throughout the project. I had to remain as close as I could to the amount of records that were in the original data set, which was 4.5 million. But the way the data is structured, you've got things like, you've got your region, your state, and then your town. And that meant that it had to be mapped exactly the same for the UK data. So you had the region, the county or the territory, and then the town. And that actually was quite more complex than you might think, because you had to say, right, for it to look consistent throughout the all 4.5 million records, you had to have the same number of regions, same number of counties, and the same number of towns, with each one had to match the same way. So Manchester would have to have 2 towns, if Greater Manchester would have to have 2 towns, Manchester and Salford, if, say, Texas had 2 towns within it. So that was quite a complex challenge. And that, to reiterate more, that was the same throughout, whether it be product lines to products, channels, channel types, just channels. That consistency was quite difficult to maintain throughout. And there was one instance where Rajiv got an email from someone in Manchester office that when they used the geo-mapping feature, which I showed you before with the bubbles and the maps, that said, we've got a bit of a problem with this data. Manchester looks as though it's in the northeast next to Newcastle. And this was from someone from the Manchester office. And I'm a student at Manchester as well, so that didn't go down too well. And that turned out it was just, how it's coded is basically you use the lines of longitude and latitude as a reference, and it was 1 degree difference, which 1 degree is quite a lot in the UK map. So that was the the 2 main challenges. If I could just now look at a few reflections of the overall project. I'm not particularly technical. I've always tried to avoid coding, programming, but I think it's been a great opportunity to actually say, no, this is my project. I have to code. And it's not that difficult, and it certainly encouraged me in the future to go for opportunities and projects which are well out of my comfort zone. And I never thought I'd say it, but sitting there line after line after line of code is pretty interesting, and it's really fulfilling when you've spent a whole afternoon trying to write 4 lines bit of code, and then it finally works before you go home. It's not so great when it doesn't work before you go home, but so I'd say that was an exciting opportunity for me. And I think that pretty much sums up my presentation. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Wilma Gombedza. I'm here to talk about the project I've been working on for the past 3 weeks in the marketing department with Tavinder Jill. I worked on a project based on online digital marketing. My project was based on, it was a research-based project investigating investigating SAS current approaches to online measurement. For those who don't know what online measurement is, online measurement involves the collecting, analysis and reporting of online data in the efforts of understanding web usage. So a lot of B2B business-to-business marketers, they analyze this data to see how they are performing online in terms of how their website is performing. Are there people coming on the website? How much traffic is coming on the website? And how their email marketing campaigns is working. So for me, I wanted to find out the common practices between all the SaaS offices, what are they currently doing in terms of online measurement, and also highlight the key challenges they're facing at the moment. So I carried out a survey and I used SharePoint and distributed it to all the SaaS offices who are currently doing digital marketing. And from the survey, I got 14 respondents from all the people who carried out the survey, from the research survey, and a majority of the respondents were online digital marketing specialists, and they were all based in these countries, you can see on the screen. So from the key findings from the survey that I wanted to find out which digital marketing matrix do they currently use. As you can see from the graph, 9 out of 14 countries use email marketing activities, whereas 8 out of 14 use general website analytics. But the least used matrix is social media performance, which shows that a lot of countries are not really looking into how they're marketing their brands using. A lot of SaaS offices are not looking into how they're marketing their brands using the social media. I also wanted to find out how much time all the SaaS offices are currently spending on online measurement. And from the results, from the survey results, it shows that there's inconsistent, all the SaaS offices are spending inconsistent time in terms of online reporting. As you can see, only 38% of the respondents said they spend 0 to 3 hours, and 31% saying 3 to 6 hours per month, and the rest 31% said more than 1 day per month. The survey also reviewed that the tools and software such as Google Analytics currently being used by the SaaS offices is not satisfying their online measurement and reporting objectives, with 71% of the SaaS offices saying no, it's not, the tools are not satisfying their online measurement reporting objectives, and only 29% saying the tools are satisfying their objectives. From the survey results, marketing offer report was the most important report being referred to by different countries, and Google Analytics reports with only 14% of the respondents saying Google Analytics and email matrix, and the rest 14% saying other. However, from the response I got, a lot of countries say they do refer to all of these reports depending on which KPI they want to look into. The survey results also showed that the different SaaS offices do not have a dedicated resource they use to just for online measurement and reporting, with 63% of the respondents, the SaaS offices, saying they do not have a resource for looking into online measurement and reporting. I wanted to also find out the biggest challenges they're currently facing in terms of online measurement and reporting, and 43% of the respondents said they do not have enough time amongst other responsibilities, and 29% saying they don't have the right tools to analyze online measurement, and the rest said they don't have enough training, and some of them said they don't produce reports as no one else in the office is interested in the reports. A lot of the survey also reviewed that a lot of offices currently refer to online measurement reporting to drive their business decisions, and also optimize campaigns they currently run, such as email marketing campaigns or Google AdWords campaigns.